The PIC Commission of Inquiry continues today. Our reporter Glorious Sefako Musi is there. Let's cross live to her. Glorious, just update us. What happened the last time the inquiry was in session?
Hi, good morning, Desiree. Yesterday, the commission was sitting from Monday, but let's take you through what happened yesterday. Yesterday, we had two people that came to give testimony. It was the former IT head, that is Luyanda Ntuane. Ntuane took us through what he went through at the PIC until the point where he left. He talked of a very strained relationship with his boss, the current acting CEO at the PIC, Matshepo More, where he said the relations between them were so cold that it was a manager-subordinate relationship, but they could not meet. Most of their communication happened on email. The projects that the IT department were handling, they were taking long to be processed. Whatever project that he suggested, systems upgrade, integration of systems, were not supported. He got to a point where he was saying even his a bursary that he had got to study from that was approved by the previous CEO of the company was questioned by More. He went on to say that at this time, More would arrange meetings at a time where he knew that he was on study leave, but the meeting would be arranged at a point where important meetings that he had to attend. So he would be sitting in an all-day meeting at the PIC when he has exams the following morning. He said that he believes that there was a culture of victimization and ill treatment of employees, and he believed that he wasn't the only person that suffered that fate. And also in the afternoon, we heard from Simpiwe Maisela, who was the senior manager of IT security at the PIC. Well, he was quite emotional in his testimony, where he at some point actually broke down and cried, where we had to adjourn for a few minutes to let him compose himself. Well, he took us through what he went through. He was just 2 months into the job when the James Nuku emails, that the first ones that came through, that alleged that the former PIC CEO, that is the Dr. Den Majila, that he had with allegations that he had facilitated funding for a company that was said to be belonging to his girlfriend. We know that at this time, he was 3 days into the job when these emails came through. What happened is, he said at some point, it was 3 days into the job, he's sitting at a lunch meeting with his superior, that is Vuyoka Simenye, who was the head of IT at the time. What happened is the former the CFO, the current acting CEO, Matshepo More, and the head of HR came rushing, wanted to speak in private with Ms. Menye, and they said to her that all emails that had this information about the former CEO and the alleged allegations of irregularities should be blocked from the system. At that time, Maisela was then tasked to do this, to block the emails from getting through to the recipients. At that time, now the focus centered around finding out who the sender of these emails was. So what happened is, Maisela was then tasked by the CEO to go to the police to open a case so that they can find out who sent these emails. But when he got to the police station, the police were like, there's nothing wrong with sending an email. There's nothing wrong with being a whistleblower. What is more interesting, what the police were interested in, were the contents of the email. As a result, they opened a case of corruption against the CEO. Then at some point, they asked Maisela to be their internal person that would share information with them from the PIC. He agreed to work with the police. And this is what eventually led to him now being in a situation where he doesn't have a job. He talked about the unfairness where at some point him and the superior that was his boss, Vuyoka Simenye, were suspended. And as it was suspended, Menye managed to reach a settlement with the PIC where she walked away with about a settlement of about 7.25 million. While on the other hand, imagine he was 2 months into the job, he got only 2 months pay for that period. So he said that was the PIC took a rather an unfair stance in this, that he could not settle with them, and now this has ruined his reputation in the industry. He cannot find a job. Now we expect the commission to commence in about 30 minutes from now. We don't know yet who's going to be taking the stand, as the identities of people that are giving testimony here are withheld until they appear at this commission. Desiree?
Glorious, let's just talk a little bit about the leadership of the PIC. Testimony yesterday saying that, as you have alluded already, that Ms. Matshepo Mora drove a campaign of rampant unfairness, but also some good words about the CEO before Dan Machila, Mr. Elias Masilela, saying that he was very collaborative and would take everybody
Desiree,
into his decisions.
What happened is there were good things that happened at the PIC. The evidence of Luyanda Ntuane said that before the Machila took over, and the events that eventually happened, the former CEO, they had a good working relationship. Everything was seemingly working smoothly. But Luanda said as soon as the structure of the organogram at the PIC was changed, and he had now to report to the CFO, that's where his work life really became really strained, where he said that at some point he felt like they were trying to get rid of him. They were trying to frustrate him to a point where he had to leave. Though he was put through a disciplinary hearing where he said a suspension letter for him was delivered to his home by a driver of the PIC. And then he was called to a disciplinary hearing where it was an external facilitator dealing with that, but he was told that he could not bring legal representative. At that point, he said he stayed home for about a month and without any communication from the PIC, until he had to now send an email to say, I've been home for about a month and nothing is happening, what's going on? That's when now the process started to move. And then at some point, an employee of the HR department called him from home, and in that discussion, he said he was he didn't take that very well, but he anyway communicated with the person that had called that if they really want to push him out of the company, then this is the conditions that he would be willing to go by. A few days later, a settlement was drawn up and he was called to a meeting, and the same conditions that he had mentioned were presented to him. Then he accepted that, okay. Then he took his package and then left, and he has expressed that he has now joined the private sector and doing much better. Desiree, as I can't hear you, I'll just take you back to you.
Thank you so much. Glorious is in Pretoria.